I'm glad you're gonna edit it.
At 7.
So like right here. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Victoria Fry. I'm the chair of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. And I just want to welcome you for this evening's talk about the issues and the things that are on the ballot. I just want to also tell you this forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus. So we always partner with them because they're always such good partners. So collaboration and partnership is important. Yes, we hope that this will provide you information for the upcoming November elections. We are live streaming. We do have an owl, so it picks up whatever conversation is happening. So just keep that in mind, however you want to keep it in mind. And we will go from there. Please make sure that you have a voting plan for November 5th election. Early in-person voting started today, as I'm sure all of you are aware, or yesterday, Tuesday, the 8th, at the Franklin County Board of Elections on Morris Road. If you want to vote by mail, you must submit a written absentee ballot request from the Board of Elections. Election day is Tuesday, November the 5th. You can verify election day polling place by contacting the Franklin County Board of Elections office. Tonight's event will cover state issue number 1, Franklin County-wide issues 46 and 47. If we have the speaker for the Coda levy tonight, we'll talk about that. As well as local Franklin Township issues and explanation from the Franklin County Auditor's Office about their levy estimator. Tonight, each issue speaker will give a short introductory statement and explanation. Audience members will have an opportunity to submit written questions about each issue, and I think we passed out cards already. If you'd like to submit a question, please take one of the provided index cards, or if you don't have one, just request one and submit them to one of our event volunteers. Can the volunteers raise their hands so that there's no event volunteers? Yeah. Whoever passed out the card, look, I was looking at you. Yeah, so these are the volunteers, so you can give them back to them. We will cut off questions based on the times in the event agenda to make sure we have time to talk about each issue. First step, and we're going to go right in. First step is Franklin Township ballot issue number 26, fire levy, and number 27, home rule. So whoever's here for that, please come forward. Yeah, short introduction of your name. Yes.
How's everybody doing today? I'm sure everyone's enjoyed that sunshine we had today and no rain. I'm John Fleshman. I'm with Franklin Township. This is our fire chief, Arnold, and we're here to talk about what it means for having our on the ballot today. We're having our township fire department levy on there. It's a little bit of a different levy. In the past, we've had levies that are called time levies, and it seems like we keep having levies. So this one would be a permanent levy so that it would go into the future 20 years, we're hoping. So if you want to explain?
Yes, thanks for having me. Just a couple of quick facts about the levy. It's 14.66 mils. It is going to replace all of the levies that are currently collected for the fire department.
So we just have one levy then versus 3.
The 3 levies that are permanent are so old they don't generate nearly as much funding as they used to. So this would replace them, allow us to collect enough money. It should be approximately $5.5 million annually to run both stations. And unfortunately, because of those older levies, and we have a temporary levy on the books that expires next year, we do not have enough revenue collected to maintain both fire stations that we have today. So you have one right down the street here on Sullivan, and then our second station is down at Frank and Harrisburg Pike. So if this levy were to fail, unfortunately, we would have to cut our staff by almost half and close this station, which would be tragic for the west side of Columbus. It would increase response times by the data we had in 2021, it was basically the same thing happened. We were bailed out by the federal government. There was a SAFER grant that the federal government funded 10 firefighters for 3 years. That's also expired. In 2021, one of our engines was out of service for almost the entire year, and it just piled so many runs on the rest of the trucks around the west side. It was almost, you just couldn't keep that pace and maintain that amount of runs on the trucks surrounding it. So dire consequences for the entire west side.
One of the things about Franklin Township, they're one of the oldest townships in Franklin County. 1803 is when it was established, and we're the only township that currently has its same name. It was named after Benjamin Franklin. With the service that we do, we not only give service just to the residents of Franklin Township, we are vital assets to Columbus, Ohio. We have what is mutual aid. We average approximately 34 runs a day, and that's quite a bit. Our guys are well battle trained. There's an old saying that says one should not boast about an arm going to war like one that's taken his armor off. Our guys really see everything from every kind of run. We've even had it at one point where we were low on funding and we had to lay off and bring everyone together. People would actually jump off a medic and get on a fire truck. Fire truck comes back in, back on a medic, and switch hands. So I'm proud to say that the people that work for Franklin Township, our firefighters, have done everything they can do. We've done everything we can do to keep the pricing low as we can for the service that we give. But I'm very proud of our guys and what we do. A lot of people are asking, well, how do we know that you're going to do away with the other 3 levies? It's not up to us, it's up to the state. We are not allowed to collect. We physically don't collect the money. The money is given to us from the state after it's collected. So we cannot collect the old levies and the new levy. Matter of fact, there's been a resolution that's already passed, if the levies should pass, that those go away. So we already have that resolution in place, but it can be confusing. Before my time, I've been serving now 11 years for our community. I do not know why or how a time levy, in my opinion, is used for buying a new fire truck, a new station. After a period of time, that levy goes away. It paid for its purpose. Anytime you're trying to run a business, you can't run something based upon, you know what, you got 4 years and then you hope that that levy will pass again so you can continue to grow. We've lost a lot of good people because they can't build their family and hope. They're with us 4 years, but they're on the lowest of the totem pole. If the levy doesn't pass, then I'm out of a job. So we've had people which they get a lot of time in with us and then they can move on. Having a secure township is having a secure levy, and that really makes a difference. Is this where we answer any questions?
Yes,
Okay.
will you ask, anyone have any questions?
So the second part, should I speak on it? It's, okay, so the next thing that we also have on the ballot is something called home rule. And what home rule is going to do is allow us to be an agency where we can, on code enforcement issues, if we have cars jacked up in the backyard, which who does that, but we see a lot of it. People that, one of the biggest things that we see is people will get cars, strip them down, and then sell the parts on Facebook or Marketplace or eBay, any outlet that they can. People don't want to look out in their backyard and see a junkyard in their backyard. Currently, what we have to do is work with Franklin County, and then we end up having to turn it over to their code enforcement officer. They currently have 2 code enforcement officers for all of Franklin County. So this would allow us to, we can't add new laws, we can't make new laws, we can't change laws. We can just be an agency that would be able to enforce it. So what we would be able to do is form a code enforcement board by the body of the people of Franklin Township, so that the board is not input with that. We don't enforce it. We would actually have a board that would enforce that, a code enforcement agent. So then what this would allow us to do, when we get complaints of things of that nature, high grass, different things of that nature, we can act on that more quickly. If someone wishes not to remove a car that has been sitting in their driveway for 6 years and there's no way it runs, and someone just takes their trash and puts it in the car. Now, these are all things that we see. We can go tag the car, notify them that they got whatever's on the book time-wise, and then we remove the vehicle, we impound the vehicle. So that way, the quality of life for the people that live next door, we see a lot of this, mostly renters and things of that nature. So we're hoping for the residents to see that this would be another tool in the toolbox in order for us to be able to act more quickly and efficiently as a township in enforcing those code enforcement issues. So I know I said a lot, but if anyone has a question about that, I'd be happy to answer it. Okay, well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming to speak with us about your levies that are up in Franklin Township.
Thank you.
Yes. Next up, we have issue 46, Franklin County Children's Services Levy. And it's Miss Jill Frost, who is a part of the Committee for Children. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So thank you to the Hilltop Area Commission, the League of Women Voters, for having us here to talk about this. I'm not going to talk long. One of the things that I want you to remember, or to sort of take away, is we're on the ballot. That big old giant orange sign there, which I hope you'll take one and put it on your front lawn. We are issue 46, and if you've seen a ballot yet, you know that we're at the almost bottom. We're one up from the bottom, so we really need people to know that we're on the ballot, and we need people to stick with the whole ballot. And we say that every election cycle, right? Vote the whole ballot. On behalf of Franklin County Children's Services, let me tell you that this year that has renewed importance for me. We really do need people to stick with it. So issue 46 is a renewal of a levy that will expire at the end of this year. It was approved in 2014 by voters, and this is the first time in 20 years that the agency has asked for an adjustment. So in addition to the 1.9 mil levy that we're asking voters to renew, there is a 0.6 mil increase. And it's the first time in 20 years that the agency has requested that voters improve an increase. And I don't know about you, but I was 300 my last birthday, and I don't know of anything that stays the same price for 20 years. And so the cost of caring for children is higher than it was 20 years ago. And so we are very hopeful that voters will approve that modest increase or that modest adjustment. Children's Services, as most of you know, is the agency in Franklin County that is mandated by law to protect children. They protect children from abuse and from neglect. They have a 24-hour, round-the-clock, 7-day-a-week hotline that residents can call. And if you are concerned about a child, if you have reason to think that a child might be endangered, that is the phone number that you call. It literally is the guardrails in our community to make sure that children are protected. There are mandatory reporters in our community. If you are a teacher, if you are a doctor, if you are a social worker, you are mandated to call if you see that a child may be in trouble. So that is what the agency does. Last year, more than 26,000 children and families received some sort of care or support from the agency. And just in terms of numbers, I don't want to bore you with data points, but the data is significant. There were almost 30,000 calls to the hotline last year. 50% of those calls were about a child being physically abused. There was a child that someone thought was in physical danger. 25% of the children represented by those calls had severe cases of mental illness. They had complex needs. And if you look at the universe of the children that FCCS serves, it's no different than the universe of children down the street, right? These are our community's children, and we know that mental health is a big deal, not just for children, but for adults. And so 25% of the calls represented a child that might have had some complex mental health challenge. 1 in 6 abuse hotline calls also raised concerns about sexual abuse. 1 in 7 child abuse hotline calls raised concerns about drugs or substance abuse in the household, and 1 in 8 abuse hotline calls reported that a child was in the home when domestic violence happened. And we talk a lot about trauma-informed care, and you know that bystander violence can be as devastating as having the violence happen to you in some ways, right? If somebody hits me in the head, I am hit in the head and it hurts and I'm mad about it, or I do whatever one does. But if I watch someone be hit in the head, it recurs. Because it doesn't have a resolution. It just kind of keeps on happening. Now imagine if you are 6 and the whole world revolves around you at 6. Well, even at 300, I think the world revolves around you. So imagine that for a child. But 1 in 8 of our kids were in the house when domestic violence happened. So what is Children's Services doing? What will they do with this additional funding? They will work on ways of addressing and minimizing trauma in children. Trauma-informed care is almost like the Bible of taking care of families and children, right? It is what we know has to happen. We know that trauma can be at the heart of a lot of things. It can be at the heart of a child who is misbehaving. It can be at the base of an adult who is misbehaving. Trauma doesn't just go away. Trauma can plant itself very deeply. The agency is also working to strengthen families before a child needs to come into care. So a part of the investment is with local grassroots, community-based prevention agencies. And so if a family needs support, they can go to a prevention agency before they have to come to Children's Services. FCCS Executive Director Chip Spinning always tells people that agencies and institutions don't raise children, families do. And I like to remind people, although you don't think this is the case, kids don't just pop up like dandelions on a lawn. Kids are parts of families, and families are parts of neighborhoods, and neighborhoods are a part of our communities or our villages, and so they are our children, but they have a foundation in those communities. And if we can keep families intact, but provide the services and the protection they need, then the child never has to come out of the home. And put yourself in the position of a 6-year-old. You'd rather stay home. You would rather be with people you know, and that people who, with some help, are able to protect you. So that is a part of why they are investing in community-based programming. So FCCS is supported by 2 10-year levies, and those levies comprise more than 72% of the agency's budget. So it's a pretty big and pretty significant part of the budget. The agency really does rely on community support to do what it does. Issue 46, again, is a renewal of a levy that will expire in December, and it is a modest increase. So on your ballot, you will see 2.5, because math in here, 1.9 plus 0.6 equals. Thank you.
Yeah,
And you know, we have enjoyed the community support for just about every levy that has gone up, but if we don't get it, it could mean the reduction in services. So we ask for your support, and again, I ask you to remind your friends and family that we are on the ballot. I ask you to take some literature, take a yard sign. We're not asking you to tell your neighbors how to vote, but tell them that we're there and that we really do need their support, and that there's good work being done on behalf of families and children. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the audience? I have a couple.
Okay, because I had a professor that used to tell me if nobody had questions, that meant the professor had done a really great job, and I'm not that good, so.
So the first question from the audience, honestly, is there any organized opposition to the FCCS levy?
No.
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 Okay. How else does FCCS receive funding other than property taxes?
So the agency they're a nonprofit, so they can go for grants, they can go for other kinds of state funding. That is a question we've gotten several places this cycle, and it's something they take very seriously. So there is state funding available, there are grants available to make up, because it's 72%, so then there is that other 28% that they have to make up in other ways. So there are different funding sources.
So could you tell us, based on what the cost per family would be with that increase, like just for that?
So the 0.6 will come out to an additional $1.75 per $100,000 property valuation. And I was so glad to hear that you have somebody here that's going to do the math later, but it is an additional $1.75, $1.75. Somebody said candy bar, but it is an additional $1.75 per month per $100,000 home.
Are there any other questions? No? This is did a good job of that. Yes.
You want to know where you can go for more information, I can see that on your faces. You can go to the committeeforchildren.com, committee4children.com, and it's also on our literature. So if you think of other questions that you have, you can just reach out to us and we're happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. So next on the agenda is actually issue 47, which is Linkus and Coda, and I do not believe the representative made it this evening, correct? Anybody from Coda? No?
You may take more time.
I will say, I can say a couple things
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
So my name is Elizabeth Grieser. I'm with the League of Women Voters. And the League of Women Voters does not have a stance on issue 47, which is the CODA levy. I would also say that we are not experts on the CODA levy either. However, we have done a little bit of research and we do publish a very short issue explanation with pros and cons. I brought hard copies of those tonight if you're interested. It's also at vote411.org. If you put in your address, it'll pull up a personalized ballot. And when you click on the issues, it'll bring up an issue pro and con. So since we don't have a representative from CODA here tonight, I just wanted to, in 1 or 2 minutes, tell you a little bit about what we found out when we were doing our research. And if issue 47 is approved, it will add an additional 0.5% of sales tax to Franklin County residents. Actually, a little bit broader than Franklin County, the entire CODA service area, which does go a little bit into the surrounding counties. So again, that is an increase to the sales tax, which is different from the Franklin County Children's Services we were just talking about, which is a property tax increase. One question we wanted to ask was, what does a sales tax increase really mean, realistically? It's a little bit harder to figure out when you don't have a home that you can value and give an exact number of what this means for people. So we used a common model for sales tax usage, and based on that information, with a Franklin County household median income of approximately $69,600, this would mean an estimate of $90 of new taxes for an average Franklin County household due to the LINCA sales tax increase per year. Now again, it's not an exact science, just a little bit of information to give you a basis to consider what does a 0.5% sales tax actually mean. The ballot measure is projected to bring an estimated of $2 billion to CODA by 2030 and more than $8 billion by 2050. CODA says that if the levy passes, it will provide 45% more CODA services, new and improved sidewalks, bike lanes, trails, and crosswalks, construction of the CODA bus rapid transit line, and I believe this library is on one of the proposed rapid transit lines at all of Broad Street. There'll be bus station improvements, including platform level boarding and heated platforms to melt the snow. I will stop here, but we do have some pro statements of what people say that want the levy to pass, and some con statements for what opponents of this levy say. So please check them out at vote411.org, or again, we have hard copies here.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for stepping in. Yeah, you did not.
I don't have to cut them.
No, yeah, I wasn't gonna give you any questions. So, I appreciate that you did that. Thank you so much. So, we wanted this to be short and sweet, so guess what? We're on track, okay? So next up, we have Elizabeth, again, who is the operations manager for League of Women Voters for Metropolitan Columbus, and she's gonna talk about State Issue 1.
This one was planned, though. I knew.
Yeah, that one was fun.
So just to let you know, the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. We never support or oppose candidates or political parties. However, we do sometimes have stances on issues. And we do have a stance on issue 1. We are urging people to vote yes. My discussion summary this evening is not going to focus so much on why you should vote yes, but just a summary of the issue with a little bit of background. And then if you have questions, feel free to ask me. I don't want this to be an advocacy presentation. This is just so voters have a better idea of what State Issue 1 means. So Ohioans have been working on the issue of gerrymandering for over 40 years, and Issue 1 is, again, another ballot issue which tries to address the problem of gerrymandering. Every 10 years, Ohio is required to redraw our district lines constitutionally. So that means we redraw our congressional legislative districts, and we redraw our state legislative districts. And we do that because the population changes in the state. So we want to make sure that our district lines are matching up with where the population is going, and so that we don't have districts which are losing large amounts of population and other districts that have a much higher population. So this way everything continues about as evenly as we can get it. And we use the census data that comes out every 10 years. So generally, we redraw district lines after, for example, the 2020 census data came out. We redrew district lines then. Currently in Ohio, how we draw district lines was decided by voters in 2015 and 2018. We had a redistricting ballot initiative. On the ballot, voters passed it overwhelmingly. And these rules allowed for an elected official commission to draw the lines. So we had 7 elected officials at the statewide level drawing lines for the state of Ohio. We went through this process. The same group that brought the 2015 and 2018 ballot issues did not think that the process went very well. And that included the League of Women Voters. So, the League of Women Voters, along with a number of other democracy, nonprofit, voter rights organizations, went back out and collected over 700,000 signatures of Ohio voters and got what is now State Issue 1 on the ballot. If you approve State Issue 1, we will be changing how we draw district lines here in Ohio. And we will be doing that by having a citizen-led commission made up of Ohio voters that will draw the district lines. So the difference is, currently, we have a group of 7 elected officials that draw the district lines. If issue 1 is passed, we will have a citizen-led ballot initiatives with, a citizen-led redistricting commission with no politicians or lobbyists on the commission, and they will be in charge of drawing these lines. There are several other states that have gone through this process. That's part of how we decided to advocate for this issue and make these changes by looking at other states like California and Michigan and Colorado, who have done similar type commissions in the past, and it has really moved the needle on the fairness of the districts in Ohio. So that is a very, very broad overview of what the issue will do. I'm happy to answer questions about specifics. Yes.
Where does the commission come from? I was in a conversation this morning about whether the legislature appointed the citizens, and no, we didn't know.
It's a good question. That's also why once I start talking about this and you get into the details, you can feel like you're getting in the weeds a little bit. So I'd like to know which weeds the audience wants me to get into. There is a pretty defined way that these citizens will be selected. So first, the citizens will self-select by filling out an application for the position. So it's not like jury duty where you will get a call that says, Cheryl, would you like to be on the commission? You know, you're going to be on the commission this year. So you will self-select. You do have to put information about your past, like if you have been an elected official, you have to make agreements that they can look into your past financial political contributions. There is a background check so that, you know, we can vet people that will be on the commissions. Once everyone has had a chance to decide if they want to apply for one of these positions, there will be a panel of bipartisan retired judges who will start the process of selecting who will be on the commission. So there's some checks and balances. So there would be a few retired Republican judges who will select a few of the commission members, a few retired Democrat judges who will select a few members of the commission. At that point, those initial members of the commission will select most of the other members of the commission, if that makes sense.
How are the judges selected?
That's a good question. Cheryl probably.
There currently is an Ohio ballot board that consists of 2 legislators that are Democrat and 2 that are Republican, and those 4 people will select the judges.
The Ohio Department of Administrative Services will also be involved as well to provide staffing and assistance, because this is a fairly big undertaking of developing this new commission. So again, when we say that Ohio voters are drawing the lines, they're not going to be drawing the lines on a big map of Ohio and sitting there drawing the lines. They're going to be working with experts and lots of computer programs and models to draw the lines based on a set of criteria that's also set out in the ballot issue.
Do you know how many commissioners there'll be?
There'll be 15 commissioners, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 5 independents. And how an Ohio voter is determined to be a Republican, Democrat, or independent is a mixture of past political donations. We'll also be looking at a person's voting record. So if you voted in a primary election, they will look to see your voting history. And if you selected the same political party twice in a row in the last, I think, 4 or 6 years, then you'd be considered, whatever that political party is. But again, it's not a hard and fast rule, and there is some leeway based on individual circumstances, because, you know, whether or not someone considers themselves a Democrat or a Republican or an independent isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule, but there are guidelines in place to determine when someone should generally be considered a part of a specific political party.
So you spoke about an application, right, for those that are interested. So on that application, you will have to divulge your political affiliation as well?
I believe so. I do not believe that the specific application has yet been developed. A lot of the details about the application process will be decided after we know if issue 1 has passed.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I have another one too. Go ahead.
Well, and you can just tell me where to go to look for this
Okay.
information. So I'm curious about what these panels, the Colorado panel, the Michigan panel, looks like in terms of inclusion and diversity. Do they look like Colorado? Do they look like Michigan? Because it could be that the most active and the most engaged are the ones who are, you know, putting their hat in the ring. But are those the people we want? I mean, don't we want civilians on there?
Correct. Yes, that is, I think, a challenge and something that the individuals that worked hard on this bill, this ballot issue, have really considered. And we've been able to learn quite a bit from what other states have gone through. Beyond just it being an open application process, which it is, there are other considerations. For example, we wouldn't want all 15 members of the commission to be from Columbus. There are some geographic things to keep in mind. We would want to have a mixture of more rural commission members and more urban commission members. We would also want to take into consideration gender, race, ethnicity. So, while it's unlikely that we would have a perfectly diverse set of 15 members that would perfectly represent the state of Ohio, I think we've gotten quite a bit of information from other states about how to make sure that we're not, dealing with a set of 15 25-year-old white females that all live in Franklin County trying to draw the lines. So, good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. When would the commission start drawing maps?
So if the ballot issue passes, applications would start to be open in 2025 with the idea that we would have new maps for November of 2026. So this process will start moving immediately if it passes. If it does not pass, then our current maps will be in place until the next census comes out, which is in 2030. So we would not get new maps until likely the 2032 elections.
Can I make a statement?
Yes.
Because I know you can't. So, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus, we are endorsing this and encouraging people to vote yes on issue 1. And there's a lot of really good reasons for that. And you might have also noticed that in the Sunday Dispatch, the Dispatch endorsed it, totally endorsed it.
In the conversations about issue 1 and why the League of Women Voters is choosing to endorse this initiative, could you speak to the constitutionality of the maps that have been in place for the last 4 years?
Thank you. So currently, the maps in place have been declared unconstitutional by the Ohio Supreme Court. Nothing has been done to correct those maps. So we are, as Ohioans, currently voting under unconstitutional maps. There's been quite a bit of back and forth. I think that some of the frustration about the lack of changes to the map, and the current commission that draws maps, their lack of response has led to this citizen-led attempt to, again, change the way that we draw maps here in Ohio.
One follow-up. Can you speak to, how do I as a voter know that this isn't just another secret back room, we're gonna draw our own districts? Are there any provisions that force this to be public?
Yes, transparency is very key in this ballot initiative. There are a number of provisions in the language of the ballot which requires public meetings, public feedback to potential maps. The idea is that everything would be done out in the open. And again, referencing other states' experiences with this type of citizen-led group, we have great examples of processes that were entirely transparent. So we have good examples to work off of, and we do know that that led to quite a bit of back and forth between communities and citizens, because it should be a discussion and it should not be, oh, this is easy, why haven't we done this before? It's not easy to draw the district lines, and there should be some discussion and debate about what is the best way to draw these lines. So that is what this ballot issue is trying to accomplish by providing the transparency and the public input.
Two questions. First question is it's a voluntary appointment, serving on that commission?
There will be payment for serving on the commission. There has been some consideration into how much an individual should make, and I'm not sure of the exact amount. We want to value a person's time and make sure they're getting compensated for putting in the hours of work that this will require. However, we also did not want people applying for this position to receive money as, as a job. So there will be some compensation, but this is not viewed as a career position the way other elected positions might be considered.
And my last question is, who is helping to facilitate, once the applications go out and individuals are selected, who is actually going to be facilitating or overseeing this body?
That's a good question. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl.
They do expect, Elizabeth mentioned administrative services will help with this. But what they also expect is they may hire a search firm to take care of actually recruiting people, getting the word out there so that people send in their applications, and then that search firm would actually review all the applications, make sure that they're qualified, and put them into the initial 3 categories of Republican, Democrat, and Independent, so that the process can go forward and select from each of those pools. But it won't be the commissioners per se that are doing that job. It's likely to be a search firm that the commissioners help hire.
And I will say 2 other things. The courts are the resource for organizations or individuals who are not happy with the district lines that are drawn. And in addition, commission members cannot serve on the commission in future years. So it is a one and done service.
What's the term for the commission?
I believe in other states, the term ended up being 18 months to 2 years. In this situation, when the goal is we would like to have new district maps for November of 2026, we're looking at a reduced timeline.
And so where will the funding come from for the search firm, and is it coming out of DAS funds?
It's actually built into the amendment, and it will come from the Ohio General Assembly, from their budget. And you shouldn't actually think about this as an incremental cost because it's a replacement of the other commission.
Yeah. Any other questions? Betty?
Who is opposing this?
The people that are opposing it are the elected officials who want to continue to draw their own district lines so that they will get reelected.
I knew the answer to that question. I still want to know, who can oppose this? I mean, I'm seeing no signs, and I'm just,
Literally, the elected officials and their parties that want to keep status quo in place.
And there are spots up against it.
But I also want to add that even though what I just said is very accurate, issue 1 is a nonpartisan issue.
Right.
And there are independents, Republicans, and Democrats who are endorsing it.
And help create.
And help create it.
development of the
Yeah.
plan. And she said, yes.
Any other questions?
Can we say that?
Anything else?
I have a comment.
Okay.
We want everyone to vote yes. The language on the ballot is so confusing. Vote yes, and that was intentional also. So we can no longer sit back and be powerless about this. Vote yes. And I know Elizabeth can't say that.
And we do have similar to issue 47, we do have a explanation with what a yes vote means and what a no vote means on Vote 411 and hard copies here as well. If you'd like more information on the yes side, you can go to citizensnotpoliticians.com.
Probably org.
Citizensnotpoliticians.org. You can Google Citizens Not Politicians.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah. So as the chair of GHAC, I want it to be known that this is an informational forum. We are not advocating for or against any of this. This is for information for our residents so that they can have all the best tools and information when they go into go into vote. And voting is important. I had a whole spiel beforehand. I talked about voting. And so just to make that clear, GHAC is doing what it should be doing, and that's providing information to our residents. And of course, with the help of the League of Women Voters, we're always able to do that around election, be it spring or whenever, right? So that's good. Levy estimator is last, yes. And so the Jack O'Grady, Community Outreach Coordinator, Franklin County Auditor's Office, is coming up and talking to us about the levy estimator.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm a Community Outreach Coordinator with the Franklin County Auditor's Office. I cover the west side. Thank you again for allowing me some of your time. Just here are some brief updates on the Auditor's Office and what we have coming up this fall and this winter. Unfortunately, I'm not the person who does the math. I know you referenced that earlier with the tax levy estimator that went live last Tuesday. I would love if we'll take any feedback on it, but I'm personally not the math guy. We've got great people doing the math though. So our tax levy estimator went live last Tuesday, October 1st. If you go there, you can type in your parcel information, your home address, and it'll let you know how all of the levies that are proposed in your district or just like for the county at large will impact your taxes this year. It's pretty extensive on there, so it'll also show you all of the levies that are currently you're paying for when those run up, if they're being renewed. It's very extensive. Also, starting November 8th, if you want to challenge your 2024 property taxes, that'll start. We're getting through all of 2023 still. We'll be wrapping those up at the end of the year. As of November 8th, you can start challenging this year's property taxes, which will go into effect next year. Did that. No. And then just some other dates coming up from the auditor's office. So this Saturday at Whitehall Yearling High School. We'll be doing our second Affordable Housing Resource Fair. That's a biannual event that we do. The last one we held was here at Hiltonia Middle. That's the biggest one we've ever done. We had over 1,000 constituents there from 10 to 2. It'll be 10 to 2 this Saturday as well. I like that event a lot. Generally we have over, I don't think I'm allowed to say 50 vendors, so I won't, but generally that's the number. Hiltonia was really great for it. It was crazy that day. Parking, the weather went all haywire out of nowhere. Hopefully there's better weather this Saturday at Whitehall. But so we'll be doing that 10 to 2. It's all affordable housing or affordable housing based vendors. I think there's a section just for banks. We've got a kids craft area too, if you're worried about what the kids will be doing during then. We're also doing a coloring contest, which is not on here, but that is something we'll be having on Saturday. The auditor's office has a calendar every year where kids K to 6 can draw a picture of them and their dog and submit it. So we'll have a little table where everybody can draw a picture of them and their dog. Got that one. November 16th, we'll have our other biannual event. That'll be over on the west side. That'll be in Prairie Township at 1550 Georgesville Road. We have a shredding event that we do twice a year called Shred Hunger. The last one we did was May the 4th in Canal. You can drive up with all of your paper shredding in your trunk. Any e-cycling that you want to get rid of, we'll take it out of your truck. We'll shred it on site. We generally do a food drive with that, or we partner with a nonprofit. This fall we will be partnering with Sanctuary Night, so we can still take food and in-kind goods or in-kind donations, but we're trying to do a clothing drive for that, and I believe pants specifically is what we're looking for. And then December 1st through January 31st is dog licensing season. State law mandates that your dog have a license in the county that it resides in. Please license your dog. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Are there any questions? No?
Awesome. Short and sweet. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, wait a minute, let me close it out. Let me close it out. Yes, thank you all for coming. I hope our viewing audience had some questions answered. Don't forget there's information on the table. And you heard the Facebook pages and the websites. Please go visit those so that you can get as much information as you can. And we appreciate everybody coming. Thank you to all the speakers. Appreciate you accepting this invitation, and have a great evening. I feel like I need my gun. Okay, thank you. You want a picture?